What's going on, everybody? It's David Palmer, the Leo King, and this is my show, Uncut Astrology, where I take off the mask or the veil, and I go deep into the astrological influences for the week of November 18th through the 24th of 2015. Now, there is a lot happening the end of November here. I mean, I'm sure you could feel it already in the news with all the stuff that's going on. What I've been talking about in all my past reports has been we've made it to this place. So if you look at my past reports or if you look at the energy and what I was talking about, we have finally made it to shifting points in our life. But of course, I think it's so, well, I don't know if it's funny, but it's kind of crazy that the universe shifts us finally to a place where it's like, okay, we can finally start to move forward in our life, and we're moving more forward into a crazy storm. So I think it's kind of weird that, we all come to these great shift points, and this is a huge blind corner we're coming into. This is a huge kind of hurricane storm of energy of all over the place, mutable energy that we're stepping into. And this is the last week where the sun finishes in Scorpio, but by Sunday, the sun comes into Sagittarius, Mercury's coming into Sagittarius, and so there's a lot of energy about to add to this storm of confusion and perception and where is everything going. So I'm preparing everybody because the beginning of this week, as we come into this week, is the most together that it's going to be because the sun in Scorpio at least holds things together. It's a fixed sign. We got Mercury conjuncting the sun, so there's a lot of answers coming out now. And there's a lot of, more importantly, you and yourself starting to try at least as best as you can to figure out what's going on. But there's been some difficulty. Neptune has stationed and now is moving direct here on the 18th, Wednesday. And so that is just a foggy, shifty place where you're in a storm, where you're trying to figure things out. And Saturn and Neptune are now really squaring. The official square is on the 26th, but it's starting to make a square. So Saturn, this planet of holding it all together and building structures in life, is in a huge, huge storm. And I think that this is such an interesting week because there's so much happening. Yet I just want to remind everybody that we are at a place where it's total surrender mode. Who knows what's coming around this corner? Who knows what's really going to happen next? Not even any astrologer can really predict it exactly when there's that many blinders on. But we can at least say this. It's okay if you don't know exactly where you're going right now. It's okay if you have to search. Part of this lesson of Sagittarius, which we're moving into this week, is searching. And it's been a long time since Saturn was in Sagittarius, right? 86, 87. So 1986, 87. So it's been a while. And having the sun meet up with Saturn here is going to be the first time that we are highlighting Saturn in Sagittarius with the sun here. That's because the last time Saturn went into Sag, which was last year, right at the end of the year, the sun was in Capricorn. So we missed it. We have not actually truly seen the sun and Saturn. Now, I don't want to overstep myself here, but that's coming next week. When we come into the 29th, the sun and Saturn will conjunct. But this week is the last week of really getting to the bottom of some of your deep internal world, dealing with the inner changes that you're ready to make in your life. And it's okay if you feel maybe that you're behind the 8 ball a little bit. There's a lot of things you want. There's a lot of things that you want to go for right now. But it's okay if you're not there. Mars, remember, is in Libra. It wants to weigh out a lot of things. And Venus over this next week is going to come into some major aspects. So let's talk about this. Venus in Libra. Its natural home. This is where Venus likes to deal with relationships. Venus, of course, also rules with, the things that you create in your life and the things that you manifest. But what's more important is I think that Venus right now in Libra is really trying to find people to help us go through this crazy storm together. And with Mars here, it's adding to that element. We're seeing it in the world now where there's unions coming together between countries. This is also a time in our lives where we're all going, okay, who's going to be there with me? Because I know that I'm coming into this blind corner of my life. I don't know where the hell I'm going, but it would be surely nice to have somebody right next to me doing it. Now, Venus is going to square Pluto this week. That could be a very intense transit because Venus and Pluto, they come together great when you have commitments and so forth. But when there's a square, this is about revealing things in relationship, being like, oh, I thought this relationship and I were going to go together, right? And it really doesn't. There's deep revealing that happens. This also kind of puts pressure on you to start making some sort of commitments in relationship, which maybe you're not wanting to, especially as Venus is going to oppose Uranus by the end of this whole week, which means that our own freedom, our own wants, our own needs are coming into conflict with needing to partner. And so there's that balance that we're trying to find. How can you continue to be your own self and you need somebody next to you through this journey in the middle of this storm that's brewing, this all over the place, this confusion can sometimes bring a lot of doubt. Mercury as well is leaving Scorpio where it's a detective and it uncovers everything and moving into Sagittarius where it kind of, doesn't know exactly what it wants. It has to search for it. Mercury, when it comes into Sag, is kind of like walking into a huge library and being like, well, what section are we going into? I don't know. Well, let's just go walk around and find a book that we kind of get interested in. Mercury in Gemini, opposite of it, is always like, we're going here, we're going on to section 3, and we're going into that book on to page 96. Very opposite in Sag. We're going to come into a lot of like, where is everything going? And don't forget that there is a lot of mutable energy. We got Jupiter in Virgo. So much of the energy right now is about lost, not knowing where to go, information overload, where you're just like, you think you know, but really you don't know. Jupiter in Virgo is not a great position because Jupiter in Virgo gets sometimes so overwhelmed with one specific place that it needs to learn to open up its horizons. And with the North Node now transiting in Virgo, this is a time in our life where we're having to kind of like open up and see that there are so many different doorways, but it might be almost too much for us to handle as we're confused. Neptune's pulling us into this weird space. Now that it's come direct too, it's really unveiled to us that, we're having to kind of follow this, I'm going to be honest, this kind of gut instinct, this godly, I don't want to call it leash, but God's kind of leashing us where to go here. And we just need to follow that. The other thing that I think is really powerful about this is Mars is going to sextile Saturn. So, even though you're confused, if you look at your long-term goals, and if you make sure you just look at life as kind of like, if you're in a storm and you're walking up steps, even though you might not be able to see, you can still walk up the steps, It's like if you're in a snowstorm, you just keep moving forward. I was actually in the military. It's like marching. Keep marching forward and just knowing that even if you lose your eyesight, you can keep moving forward. This is where it's going to be the ultimate test of where are you going to allow your sensitivities? Are you going to allow maybe feeling guilty about situations? When Saturn gets in a square with Neptune, there is also this kind of like less compassionate aspect that we deal with in ourselves. Saturn saying, oh, you can't be compassionate. And Neptune's trying to be compassionate, but Saturn's like, sorry, this is the rules of the land. So there's this kind of battle between compassion in ourselves, guilt in ourselves that we have to face. It's not that simple, and it's all while you're being lost, and it's all while you're uncovering parts of yourself that are dark and scary and revealing that maybe you don't want to be that person that you're revealing in yourself. So we kind of are coming into this week where finding the right people is important. Not being afraid to commit to those people and those relationships to get through the storm, I think is important. And making sure that they're on the same type of long-term plans or goals as yourself. The other thing about this week that I think really blows my mind is the moon. The moon's going to come and touch over Neptune after it comes to direct in Pisces. It's going to come over Uranus that will oppose Venus. And then it's going to come into Taurus and kind of get ready for this full moon that comes next week. This week, we are really going to be looking at parts of ourselves so deeply, so vast, so unknown, that you truly come into a blind corner, and it truly is about just being excited about seeing what's behind it. And that you have to venture forward into it, that you don't need to know everything, that you can't know everything. Poor Jupiter in Virgo wants to know every little nook and cranny and understand why, especially as the North Node and Jupiter are starting to conjunct. But Saturn's in a big square to that area. Neptune's opposed in that spot. You know, we're also getting ready for Chiron to station and go direct, which means that, you know, it's okay if we don't know. And this week, my message to you is, it's okay that if you don't know. It's okay if you don't know. It's okay if you have to do 1 foot in front of at a time. It's okay if tonight, who knows where you're going for dinner? You're just going to go and just figure it out. Who cares if you have these huge plans and these huge wants and these huge needs and that they're going to take longer than you think because maybe inside you're not ready or maybe the outside circumstances haven't come. This is a moment in our life that we're getting ready for a true... Somebody had told me the other day, maybe a shipwreck. Neptune squared Saturn is a shipwreck. Somebody actually called out that amazing. And sometimes shipwrecks are the best thing that ever happened in our life. There was one of my favorite movies of all time, which was, what's it called? Swiss Family Robinson. It was about a family that literally got shipwrecked and then had to go search for land, and they end up living in the island, and it's the best place they ever end up. So even though they were heading, I think, for, I forgot which country they were heading for on the boat, but they never made it there. What if I were to tell you that where you think you're going, you might not end up there, but there's a better place that you're going to end up, that this storm over the next couple weeks is going to take you. And to not have your ego hold on to exactly what you want it to be so deeply. I'm going to be honest. I want to start this whole thing in New York City, this whole gallery. I got this whole awesome idea that's coming out. But you know what? I've been putting it on hold because I know, oh my God, this is going to be a crazy storm. And I don't know if it's going to go there. So say your wants and your needs, but let the universe take this storm. And where is it going to kick us out in December? Because this next couple weeks here is going to be the most wildest ride in the wilderness. I want to bring up one last thing and then I got to go because I think I'm already way past on my time. Last time Neptune was in Pisces was in the 1860s, right? Okay? 1850s, sorry, and into 60s. It was actually 1848 to right when the Civil War started. And there is so much energy kind of combined with understanding this whole Civil War thing. I've actually gone back to Neptune. It was during witch trials, in Pisces. You got to remember that this is a time where, man, there is weird separations going on right now in life. People are picking their sides, unconsciousness or conscious sides. And we're going to see it in politics. We're going to see it in the world. We're going to see it all over the place. And I think that there's a need to kind of pick the conscious side of things, trust the universe no matter what, and I think more importantly, know that don't attach yourself to anything right now that you think is going to be 100%, because it's not. Let this shipwreck that's coming, not this week, you're going to start to feel the waves coming and, the rudder's kind of messed up and whoa, you're going to have to kind of hold on a little bit when the sun comes into Sag. But this is going to be the ultimate adventure of your life over the next couple weeks. And this is going to continue into 2016. And remember, Pluto and Uranus are coming closer again too. We'll talk about that next week. Anyways, if you want to support me, you can get me on my app on Apple and Android. You can just type in the Leo King. You can get me at any of those stores. And of course, leoking.lookstack.com. If you want to get a one-on-one session with me, you can always get that at inclusiveastrology.com as well. And I put my November 2015 horoscope going deeper into everything I said on sale for $2.95 at my website, inclusiveastrology.com. Also, spiritualdancemusic.com. We did a show, a new moon ceremony. It is awesome. Check out the 432 hertz audio recording I did, which will heal you. Put it on, go listen, clean your house, go lay in your bed or whatever, and that tune and that mix will channel the most positive energy for you. I appreciate all your support so much. Thank you so much for joining me on the Leo King channel, and I am sending you a lot of great energy, and I will see you on the next Uncut.